Well, folks, this was a very interesting find. You have to understand, I want people to understand, besides this being Sawmill Canyon, there's a lot of minor and Comstock history here. The Comstock, those are the Virginia hills. Virginia City's over the hills. But what you got to understand is back in the 1800s, they had to take these reservoirs, they had to take these water supply in creeks and divert these creeks, creating log flumes when they lumbered a lot. There's a lot more trees and forest here, but when they took down most of the forest, the logs came by flume. They came down to Carson City, and then they were loaded by train, and then the train went over those mountains and delivered the wood to the Comstock. Okay, you know, you got that history down. But what you're looking at here is the old pipeline. These pipelines, at one time, before this new system here was created with solar panels, but at one time, I mean, you have the old wall and piping and old stone blocks, and this iron that you see was part of a piping system. You can see it ran all the way down the mountain. And this piping you see, now it's all rusted and it's deplorable, but at one time, this supply, the water it was flowing fluently through these pipes to Virginia City, to Carson City, and so besides the log flume business, which, you know, the timber was used to build Virginia City, and of course mining in the Comstock lode, you have to understand that people needed drinking water, and the only way to get it to the people was through this pipe that ran all the way from the lakes and the water sources just over the ridge here. This is the Tahoe Rim right here. We're at the top. I mean, you can see we're at the top of the mountains. We've worked hard to get all the way up here, but water was brought in from a very far distance. And this pipeline ran to Virginia City, which is miles and miles away. And there's not many remnants remaining of it. But you do have this wonderful historical relic. And many people would drive the road or hike and totally miss this. I didn't miss it. I feel that, yeah, today is a great scenic hike that offers a lot of, you know, Bigfoot investigating and scenic photography and things like that, and nature, but there is so many historic sites in this little region. And if you do not pay attention to these sites, they can be easily missed. They are not huge sites. This is not a huge site, but we did find it. My goal was to find some of the old water piping. I want to also find the old red house, which is a caretaker's house from the 1800s. I'll get into all the history later. And then there's the sawmill, and then there's Hobart Reservoir, and there's a couple dams, and I believe we might be lucky and even find an old log flume. And if you really want to get technical, from up here, not only can you see Washoe City, but you can also see Reno, Nevada. So, I mean, we are definitely gaining some elevation here. You've just seen a piece of history, and without piping systems or flumes or anything like that, Carson City and Virginia City would not be. This would be just an empty expanse. But it's not. It's forever growing, because the water and the flumes made it possible in the 1800s. Just for the record, folks, here's another piece of piping. This was established in 1873. I just want people to know the age to go with the history. But the guy told me it's coming up. I know what he means now. I asked the guy because I want to make sure, but he said, oh yeah, you go to the right. Technically, when you take this road, it'll cut left and split off. So we're almost at the sawmill. That'll be our next historic site. But you have to understand what you're looking at here, okay? That, 1873. That's old school.